Welcome back to another update on the Yarbo where it'll meet snow for the first time. I did have to wait a few weeks for snowfall, so first I had to help around the house. Yarbo comes with this clevis pin tow hitch which attaches to the back. You can hook a small trailer to it. Apparently it tows up to 3,500 pounds. So I filled up the wagon with over 100 pounds of wood and then used the follow me mode that I showed before to bring it around the yard for me. Before we could use the Yarbo in the snow, I had to change the summer tracks over to the winter tracks. This is actually a lot easier than I thought. You basically retract the tensioners and swap the tracks over. I gave them a good grease as well. Second track went even quicker with a little help from Milwaukee. Now Yarbo's got its studded winter rubber ready for the snow. And on Thanksgiving Day, we finally had a storm hit. We actually got over 15 inches of snow throughout the day of real wet, heavy stuff. And so I put Yarbo to work for the first time. Here I am smoking my Thanksgiving turkey, and Yarbo's helping me out in the background. Just a couple hours sitting on the charger and this thing was buried. This was a tough test though because this snow was really thick, heavy, and deep, and it got stuck several times. A week later we had another storm and I had another chance to test it out. Each time I was slowly dialing in the map and figuring out where it got hung up. The app can be used not only to do the mapping and set up the work areas, but also activate the various jobs and monitor it. Here you can see it actively snow blowing the driveway and exactly where it's been already. I split my driveway up into 3 sections just to make it a little bit easier. I can also run it on just 1 or 2 or 3 of them. Here Yarbo's stuck in the snowbank here in the corner. Example of where I need to bring the perimeter of the map in a bit so this doesn't happen. The snowblower itself is not a problem. It's super powerful, has no problem going through over a foot of heavy snow. The problem usually comes down to traction of the treads, especially when it's trying to turn and it's stuck in deep snow. If it doesn't free itself though, it eventually just gives up and stops, and you'll get a little message. You open the app and it says the tracks are slipping. Most of the time I can manually go in the remote control and just lift the auger and back it out. Every once in a while I had to actually walk over and move it. Now when the battery gets down to 20%, it automatically goes and tries to recharge itself. I'm going to let this play out in real time just because it's interesting to watch how this completely autonomously docks and starts charging itself. It's fully using GPS to go over to the general vicinity of the charger. It then takes a pass of snow blowing in front of and right over the charger itself. And when it's satisfied, it backs up, flips around, and parks itself on the charging pad. Now it's still using mostly GPS, and apparently there's a few embedded magnets in the pad that uses it for location. It's not using the cameras, which in the summertime I would use, but in the winter, of course, it's kind of blocked by the snow. But this shows the perfect use of inductive charging here, where fully automatically something can replenish its power. It's certainly not fast, but it doesn't have to be. The whole point is it's doing this all on its own, not wasting your time. And I'm sure this will improve a lot with software updates. I should also mention I'm losing a GPS antenna. The house is blocking some of the signal, and it's cloudy and snowing out, so it's definitely had things stacked against it. Once it's perfectly centered over the inductive pad, it turns itself off and says start charging. Of course, the app will show you the charging progress, and it'll head back out and continue where it left off when it's done. Now we're on our third snowstorm and another good chance to test. Obviously, this would be super dangerous for someone to walk up to and reach their hand in, so I'll demonstrate here the person detection. If anyone gets anywhere close to the robot or in its path, it shuts down the auger and starts saying person detected. This actually made it really hard to film this thing as it was working over the last few days. Remember, there's cameras on all four sides of this thing, so it waits for you to walk away far enough before it starts continuing to work again. Now, as I mentioned, my biggest problem was GPS issues. If they went weak at all, it stops dead in its tracks and it waits for them to improve, which may never happen. It seemed to really happen often in this corner of the garage. Remember, I'm still on my temporary GPS antenna and waiting for replacements, so hopefully this improves soon. The other issue is sometimes it continued to get stuck in the snowbank. But overall, I'm super impressed with the power and performance of this, and it's showing a ton of promise. They've been releasing firmware updates almost twice a week here, so I think over the course of this winter, we're going to see this thing improve significantly, so stay tuned to see more. It does a pretty good job. Remember, my driveway is uneven dirt and gravel, so I have to keep it raised.